Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Four Quarter Talk podcast with myself, Jack Brazil, and my co-host, as always, Joshua Mazoki. Say what's up?
Joshua this time, yeah.
Yeah, man. We're doing formal this week.
Yeah, we back. Let's go. Let's keep this consistency up. Let's go.
Yeah, man. We're in a Kobe type scoring run. I saw the views they're flirting with 100 each week. Maybe last episode was 35, but we don't talk about that one. Everyone has off games.
We doubled up our. We've got as many episodes in the last month as we had since we started in July.
That's what lockdown and having nothing else to do will do for you. And there's a lot of basketball being played, so there's always a lot to talk about. But let's get right into today's episode. And Josh, I think it's time we talk about the Eastern Conference. Last night, I was watching the Chicago Bulls get one over on the Minnesota Timberwolves, although it went to overtime on some BS call, but that's not what we're here to talk about. And after the game, after they had done interviewing, All-Star Zach Lavine, let me just say that one more time, All-Star Zach Lavine. Not quite a starter, but I think he was knocking on the door. But anyway, after they had done interviewing him, they flashed up a graphic, and it was the standing of the Eastern Conference. And I sent this into the group chat, and there was a bit of fallout when we saw that only 3 teams in the East are above 500, and the Bulls are in the 6th seed with a 15-16 record, which is kind of unheard of in the East. And I think this is really down to 3 of the main contenders in the East, in the Celtics, the Raptors, and the Heat, really underperforming, having really mediocre seasons this year, falling out of those seeds where you would expect them to be top 3, top 4, top 5 seeds. Those teams would, if you're making your predictions at the start of the season, those would be your locks for those spots. And they've really gone under expectations. And you got to feel for a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder, Josh, who, have a similar record to the Bulls in a way. After that, Lou Dort game winner last night. In the corner. I don't know why he was so wide open, but he hits the shot. And, you got to feel sorry for a team like that whose record would translate quite well in the East. But because they're in the West who have a lot of teams.
Yeah, we're trying to get Cunningham, man. We don't care about
that. Yeah. We'll be in the playoffs. You lot can be watching from the sofa.
As long as we don't get the 7th seed.
Yeah.
I mean, the
7th pick. Yeah, that number still haunts me to this day. But hey, Kobe White, Wendell Carter Jr., Lauri Markkanen with those picks. I think those are pretty decent pickups. But yeah, the East is a really weird place right now. I'm not sure if the East has always been noticeably the weaker conference, but have we ever seen it like this, Josh?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. Actually, no, the East, we definitely have. There's been a few years where playoff teams in the East, if I can think back to, I think it was like 2012, where there were like a few 60-win teams in the West, like 2 or 3 50, high 50, 60-win teams in the West. And there were like teams that had less than 40 wins making the playoffs in the East. So
it looks like there might be 4 or 5 teams that get less than 40 wins that might get into the playoff this year.
But it seemed that since LeBron had left, and since there were a couple of teams that kind of that got better, and the East seemed to be as strong as the West, if not even last year, maybe even stronger than the West. Some of the injuries, so it's just strange. Obviously, as you mentioned, a few teams that were expected to take the next step this year, notably, with the Celtics, which we'll talk about, the Knicks, the Heat. Atlanta, who looked promising, and the Wizards, who weren't seen as contenders, but we thought with getting Russ, they'd be a lot better. But they've gotten a bit better now. But it also seems like a lot of these Eastern Conference teams have been hit harder with COVID as well.
Yeah, for sure. Even the teams at the top with the Sixers had that really rough start to the season where they were having to start Tyrese Maxey and could only field 7 or 8 players. And then the Brooklyn Nets, who have Kevin Durant has been out for a lot of games with this COVID-19 protocol. And the Nets look fantastic right now, as we mentioned in last week's podcast, but they're probably only one of 2 teams in the East that actually look like real contenders right now. Speaking of the Wizards and the Celtics, it's mad to think that after the Wizards' terrible start, where hashtag free Bill started trending, Russell Westbrook looked like he had the worst contract in the NBA. They've gone on a four-game winning streak. They lost last night, but not last night, 2 nights ago. But they've won a 4 out of 5 now, and they're now on the fringes
they're
of
on a 5-game winning streak.
They're now
crazy.
on the fringes of a playoff appearance. Just because.
I mean, it seems like Detroit, if they go on a little run, they can be the 5th seed. So
it's really wide open. And although the quality, you could maybe say that the quality in the East is less so than the West. You got to say it's more interesting right now, the East.
Especially as we inch closer to the play-in tournament, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and the Jazz are kind of running away with the best record in the league right now, with the Lakers going on that 4-game losing streak since AD has gone down. But in the East, there's, you got the 2 at the top, and then the rest is all up for grabs. So it'll be really interesting to see how that goes. Just speaking of the Wizards, what do you think can be accredited to this uptick in form?
First of all, obviously, they're healthier relatively anyway. Obviously, they've lost Bryant for the season now, but they're relatively healthier.
Mo Wagner's been back. Another center in the rotation.
Yeah, I've seen. So let me see this. So health, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Westbrook's leadership was notable after a couple of their wins. They had a couple players. Rui Hachimura said that Westbrook was really like drilling into him, that he's that one player that they have that can guard all 5 positions.
Yeah.
In practices, Russell Westbrook was adamant about making sure everyone had defined roles and knew what was expected of them. And Rui Denny Avdia said that helped a lot with just clarity and just knowing, because obviously it's been a difficult season. They've not had games, but also not had practices with a new roster. So that's not allowed them to really define who they are as a team. So things like that definitely help. And then also they've had lineup adjustments as well. So they made the switch to start Garrison Matthews and Mo Wagner, and that's proven to be a great fit for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime you can get Alex Len off the court, I think that's an advantage to your team. But it's really, for me, it's really encouraging to see that Russell Westbrook has kind of stepped up and taken that leadership role and is really drilling into these young players that this is a winning situation. This has to be a winning situation, because they do have 2 all-star quality guards on that roster, and I think when they're all healthy, this can easily be a playoff team. And you wouldn't blame Russ if he would just kind of switch off and turn his attention off and maybe be looking towards his next team. With the poor start that the Wizards has, but it's good to see that he's locked in on the Wizards.
And he seems a lot more self-aware as well, because Scott Brooks was asked in an interview about Westbrook not shooting many threes in the last few weeks, and he seems to have come to that same realization that he had with the Rockets, where he actually allowed Scott Brooks to tell him, Scott Brooks said, "I twisted his arm a few times, and he knows." So basically, this is, that's been the thing with Westbrook for his entire career. And it's ironic that it's Scott Brooks, but he's always had coaches. Yeah, he's always had coaches, and especially Scott Brooks. So that's strange, but that have been kind of scared or, reluctant to really tell Westbrook to adjust. And he seems like he's matured to a point where he knows his weaknesses. I mean, he's 32 now. But I mean, he's finally got there. He's finally the
light bulb moment. 32nd birthday. He was like, maybe I shouldn't shoot the 3 anymore. Well, I was screaming this from the start of the season because I was watching a few Wizards games at the start because I've got Russell Westbrook in my fantasy, and every time he went up for a 3, it pained me because you know it's either airballing or it's going to be a long rebound.
But to be fair, I think a lot of, just from watching him over the last 2 seasons, I think there's definitely a correlation between how many threes he takes and how healthy he is. Because it seems like he settles a lot more because he doesn't feel confident driving to the basket.
But it does seem, though, with Westbrook, when he understands what he's good at, and I don't know why it takes him kind of midway through a season to understand this. But
February apparently.
Yeah, when he understands what his main strengths are, which is mid ranges and driving to the basket, as close as Russell Westbrook can get to the basket, that's when he's going to be as good and effective as possible. That's when he really starts to, come into the Westbrook we all know, and he's been really, really solid over these last 5. A perfect complement to Bradley Beal,
and the
that's
whole
why they're winning.
Yeah, the whole team feeds off it as well. You can see Bradley Beal's energy goes as Westbrook's energy goes, and it just carries through to the whole roster. So they're riding off that, and credit to Brooks for making the adjustments he made. But yeah, overall, and then their defense has been better. Obviously, they've given up more points. They've still given up a lot of points, but it seems everyone does. But the effort is just definitely there.
Yeah, the effort is for sure there. Let's move to the other end, not the other end of the spectrum, but it's almost like Freaky Friday with the Boston Celtics and the Washington Wizards. It seems like they've almost switched bodies. With the Celtics are on a really rough run right now. Obviously lost to the Hawks last night off Gallinari's 10 3-pointers on 12 attempts.
Hey, back OKC Gallinari's back.
I mean, to be fair, Gallinari has really struggled this year since he's come to Atlanta. But last night, maybe that's his coming out party last night. Yeah, he was on fire. People were touting him to break an NBA record last night. Didn't quite happen, but he shot.
Yeah, he didn't play too much because it was such a blowout.
Yeah, and he shot 80% from the field, 80% from 3 last night. So not really much more you can ask for. But
this is what I expected, man. I picked him up in my fantasy right after the draft, thinking like, oh, we're gonna get the same Gallo again, or even a better Gallo with this new role with Trae Young. But yeah, hopefully this is a sign of things to come.
But the Celtics are on a really rough run right now. Obviously, been hit by the injury bug, as a lot of teams have. But it seems like they've been hit by it one of the hardest. I was looking. I didn't watch this one last night, but I was looking at the box score, and some of the plays they were fielding. It's not reminiscent at all of the Celtics of the last 3-4 years, where they've got quality all over the roster.
After every game, I see Celtics fans just pleading to get rid of Jeff Teague and even bring back Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, I was gonna say if your point guard rotation at this point is Cardio, Kemba Walker, and Jeff Teague, you're in trouble.
Might as well give Carson Edwards a shot.
Yeah, for sure. Give Peyton Pritchard more minutes as well. He hasn't looked bad. I guess you're going for experience. But this Celtics team they're really, really missing Marcus Smart, and we were talking about this last night in the group chat. I've been saying that I think Marcus Smart is probably the Celtics' most important player, and you're seeing that now. And you called him even the best role player in the league. What can you tell the people what Marcus Smart brings to the Celtics team and why he's so important?
Yeah. So Marcus Smart is former 3rd pick in the draft, and for good reason. His defense was what got him there, but he has become, a couple of seasons ago, people were thinking, he can't shoot. That was his weakness. That was, like they'd cringe if he shot a 3. But now he's become one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Couple that with his defense, he's kind of that Lou Dort mode, and like he just contributes. He does the little things, and he is their best option at point guard. And I thought this before. I noticed this back in the playoffs last season. I started to think that why not just trade Kemba for a center?
Yeah,
they don't really need him. He doesn't serve a purpose because, other than him being, cardio Kemba right now, I just feel like after evaluating how that last season went with Kyrie, a lot of people just rush to blame Kyrie, blame it on his selfishness. But I don't think it was that. I don't think, looking back, I do not, and even at the time, I don't think Kyrie was the problem in himself, but I think it was the situation around the team where they had too many playmakers. They had him, Rozier, and then they had those players that stepped up in his absence. And I think that they should have just, turned away from that mode of player. Instead, they just replaced him with a worse version of himself. So in Kemba, and it doesn't really make much sense. They could have tried to pursue a Miles Turner, who I see a lot of Celtics fans calling for. but now his trade value is evaporated.
Yeah. And this, remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is a man who was an all-star starter just 365 days ago, 1 year ago. I don't
back to back all-star
yeah. He must have Adam Silver's news or something, because I don't know. Well, obviously, it's a fan vote, but yeah. Does Kemba Walker have fans? I didn't know Kemba Walker had fans.
I don't know how he put. Let me check to see if he was a starter with the Charlotte one, because I feel like I remember. That doesn't make sense though. Like, to be fair, a Charlotte player leading in fan vote.
Yeah,
that doesn't sound right.
He must have. I don't know. He must have had a lot of burner accounts. Millions of burner accounts. But Josh, I'm going to pose a question to you. I think the Celtics have really struggled for a big man for a long, long time now. They experimented with Enes Kanter last year, didn't work. But now he's balling in Portland, and now their center rotation is Daniel Tice and Tristan Thompson. Is Danny Ainge a fraud? That's what I wanted to ask you.
I was gonna cut you off earlier and say that I'm just gonna launch into a Danny Ainge slander session.
Well, I'm thinking the same thing, because this has been a glaring weak spot in the Celtics team for years now, and he still hasn't addressed it. I mean, Daniel Tice and Tristan Thompson are solid NBA players, but if you've got the aspirations of making it far in the playoffs, they're not your guys. And you've got this asset. Maybe he's not an asset now, but you had this asset in Kemba Walker, who you could have easily flipped for a center. Now it doesn't look. I don't see a way of them acquiring that piece. Maybe unless Andre Drummond gets brought out by the Celtics. But why would he want to go to Boston right now when he could go to the Lakers or the Nets? Is he a fraud, Josh?
Yeah, even originally with when they first got Kemba, it wasn't outright free agency. It was a sign and trade for Rozier. With Rozier. So they could have easily turned Rozier into a center as well. But he came out and the Celtics owner came out and said they don't believe that this is a contender right now. Oh, wow. Oh, that's really what a surprise there. But I mean, yeah, he even tried to trade Kemba, and a lot of GMs got mad about it because they were like, "You're trying to trade us a player that's clearly injured." Like, I'm pretty sure Kemba is still on a minutes restriction and doesn't play back-to-backs, and he's shooting 37% from the field.
Oh, damn. God damn. 37% from the field.
He's almost shooting the same from three as from the field.
He should just, But I think Danny Ainge is
Danny Ainge in general.
Yeah.
Like, if I look back, after that, legendary fleece of the Nets, what has that amounted to? I mean, obviously, taking Jason Tatum was great, but even looking back, I don't know if they didn't have Isaiah Thomas on the team already, if they were going to take him.
Yeah, well,
so they might have looked for faults, but forget that. A lot of the picks that they had, they didn't turn into much, and then he's kind of just held on to it. He's kind of just relied on it. He's had all these assets and just kind of stayed stagnant and thought, no, I don't want to trade it. He had a lot of opportunities to turn it into to turn those trades into tangible players and things, but they've not addressed the issues that they have.
Yeah, I think a lot of Danny Ainge's reputation is living off of that move where he traded down to get Jason Tatum, and the fact that Jason Tatum has turned into the star he is. I think a lot of it is that Nets trade. And now thinking back, like, who he fleeced the Nets, but look at those two franchises right now. Yeah, exactly. Like the Nets have had I'm sorry, not the Nets. The Celtics have had a few runs deep into the playoffs, but the most successful franchise in the NBA, that's not a success to them, is it? They're looking to leapfrog the Lakers in banners. So that can't be considered a success, I don't think. And the Nets are, as you said, sitting second in the East, while the Celtics find themselves in ninth. So at the time and for the last 5 years, we've discussed that trade as a massive L for the Nets. But right now, who knows? Maybe the scales are turning in
like
the
a
Nets'
W.
favor. Yeah, for sure.
And we have to, and we owe we owe MJ an apology for the Rozier Kemba trade as well.
Yeah,
because that has aged very well.
Yeah, well, it's almost like the greatest basketball player of all time might know what he's doing for once in the GM role. He's finally maturing into becoming a decent GM, and he saw something in Gordon Hayward that a lot of people didn't see either. So,
Yeah, safe to say he took it personally.
What doesn't that man take personally though? That's the question. But yeah, the Celtics really struggling right now. I don't think Marcus Smart can come back soon enough. And will they get that center? I think Danny Ainge could probably die a happy man if the Celtics finally get a competent center on the roster.
And man, they really tried to address it with Tristan Thompson, who famously got out rebounded by Steph Curry in the finals.
Also, another L for the Celtics. Those City Edition jerseys are terrible. Throw them in the bin.
Oh my goodness! I see what they were trying to do with the championship banner thing, but no. Even those banners are trash. I'm sorry. Yeah. Those have to be like some of the worst banners in the league.
Looks like they were made in PowerPoint or something.
That's what happens when you get your titles in the 60s. before segregation was illegal.
Yeah. Oh god. I don't know where to go from there.
Where do we go from there?
I was gonna make a joke, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I can say it.
Yeah, maybe not on Black History Month, bro.
Yeah. I'll save it for March. Anyway, we got to talk about another team that's struggling, and we'll move over to the Western Conference for this one. And it's the LA Lakers. The LA Lakers are a team for the past 16 months that we've only spoken about. It seems like in a positive light. Obviously, winning the title in Disneyland. LeBron reunited with his best friend Mickey Mouse.
They won the Disney AAU tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, but it goes down as a championship nonetheless. But here they are in February, sitting on a 4-game losing streak ever since Disney has gone down. They really struggled. Really struggled. 4-game losing streak, as I said. And they kind of look like that team from the 2018-19 season, that Lakers team that missed the playoffs. How do you think the Lakers can, kind of stop the bleeding and get back to winning ways? Because AD is not going to be back before the All-Star break. His All-Star replacement has been named. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. But how do they fix this? Because this is a team that maybe seeding isn't so important for them. I don't think it makes much difference where they finish. I think they'll probably be one of the favorites going into any playoff series they go into. But the Jazz are rapidly running away from them.
Yeah. This is not the same. This is not the same roster that hoisted up the trophy. Obviously they have those two main pieces, but other than that, we thought they won free agency. I mean, with the moves that they made, it seemed that they were supposed to be the team that was now the deepest. And that's clearly not aged well. It's clear that their versatility last season was a big part of their success, being able to go small, to counteract going small against the Rockets, then to go big against the Nuggets. They definitely missed Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. I'm sure they would have. I guess it wasn't really them. I think they just took too long, and then Dwight just signed with the Sixers. But
yeah, and I think they thought signing Montrezl Harrell was kind of decent collateral for losing those two players, but he's not really the same mold at all as those two.
Oh, he's a fraud. He's a fraud as well. Oh, I've always thought he was a fraud. I'm sorry, because I think he got exposed in the playoffs, but every time I watch him play, I'm just thinking I've never seen someone that's made the game of basketball look so difficult. He'll get you 20 a game, but last season, but it'll be
I know what you
It
mean.
looked like he was on a UFC fight.
Yeah.
Honestly, like
That's why they can only play him 20 minutes a game, because he must be gassed when he gets to the bench.
yeah. Honestly, though, he gets gas and then then it comes up against, Jokic. He just gets bullied. I think because he plays with so much grit, people get the illusion that he's a great defender, but he's not.
Yeah.
He's not a good defender at all.
Yeah, he's really undersized at that center position, and
Yeah.
I don't think he really has the athleticism to make up for it either. And
No,
he doesn't really have like the wingspan to make up for it either. So, I do think it'll be a little bit harsh on him. I just think you're upset still that he won Sixth Man of the Year over Dennis the Menace, Dennis Schroeder. But I've got I think Montrezl Harrell can be a bigger part of this Lakers' success. I think also Dennis Schroeder has been disappointing as well. So those two moves, which
I think they're misusing Shooter as well. He's not a star. He's not a star to me.
I've been saying this. I think he should come off. And LeBron should the point guard.
He should start. They've just they won a championship, and then they just changed everything. Like this is unprecedented. What team doesn't run back the championship? You know what I mean? They changed their roster. They changed the roles within the roster. They've got LeBron now, who's seemingly. Adding Schroeder was supposed to, ease LeBron's take away from LeBron's load. Pause, but if you see these last 9 games, obviously Schroeder has been out for about 4 of them, but over his last 9 games, he's played 46 minutes, 42, 41, 34, 30, 37, 32, 37, and 43. So, in his 18th season as a 36-year-old. Off a 70-day off season, that's not really what you want LeBron. How much you want LeBron to be playing. And
we're seeing that last few games, he's kind of slowly slowing down. He had that really hot run for about 2 weeks, but now he's kind of coming down to earth a little bit. Earth by LeBron standards is still pretty the moon, but
he just doesn't look in it though. Like his head just doesn't look in it. Like what?
Yeah.
He's launching logo threes in clutch time.
Yeah. Oh, that was awful. And then he missed the game-winning free throw as well. It's almost like he's mourning from the loss of Anthony Davis. Like, he was tapping up Anthony Davis for so long. So he's obviously, and it's clear they've got a really good connection. But LeBron with the experience he has and having the career he's had, where he's been expected to carry a team for most of his career, especially on the Cavaliers, he should know how to win when his second option goes down. That's the expectation I have of him anyway, and it doesn't look like he can right now.
But that being said, as much as they're struggling, last season was kind of an aberration from what we see from a LeBron-led team.
Yeah.
Normally, they come out the gate quite slowly, and then around this time, this is when we start to get the questions. That's when LeBron has the interviews about we're top heavy, or posting a cryptic tweet, and that's what we didn't get last season, because everyone was expecting it, but they just seamlessly fit. They're on a 4-game losing streak right now. Yeah, last year their motto was don't lose 2 in a row, which they didn't until I think the finals maybe.
Yeah.
So, it's a far cry from last season, which seemed to be perfect. Obviously, that was significantly aided by the fact that they were playing for a Mickey Mouse ring. But, but now, in honesty though, this is kind of what we normally see from LeBron throughout a season. He kind of takes that regular season off. Obviously, it's a shorter season, so there's not as much margin for error right now. And they need to come out hot after the All-Star break.
Yeah, it is really reminiscent of that 18-19 Lakers team right now. But, you could give them kind of slack back then because it was their first year together. They didn't have as much talent as they have now. But this year, their expectations are way higher.
It's all veterans right now.
Yeah.
So
they should not be. Yeah, they should not be losing 4 straight if they have the aspirations that they have. I did just quickly want to mention the Jazz, who beat their ass last night, 114-89. Brutal loss for the Lakers, but the Jazz just don't know how to stop winning. I mean, and the thing is, if you look at the box score from this game, no one scored
they
over.
had several players.
Yeah, no one scored over 20 on the Jazz. But it just shows you. This is the ethos of the Jazz right now. It's a real team effort every night. Their so-called superstar, Donovan Mitchell only had 13, but he contributed with 10 rebounds, 8 assists. So he knows that he doesn't have to score 30 for this team to win. And that's a real bonus when you're the guy who you see as that leading frontman, doesn't have to put up those numbers, and you can still win very convincingly.
Yeah, I'm getting more and more convinced about the Jazz because this doesn't feel like the 2015 Hawks. I think going into last season when they made those additions to get Bogdanovic and oh my god, it's slipping my mind. Point guard.
Mike Conley.
Sorry. When they made those additions, a lot of people thought that they were. If you look back at preseason rankings before last season, a lot of people had them as near the top of the East and the top of the West, and but they had disappointing seasons from Conley, and then they lost Bogdanovic for quite a lot of the season, including the playoffs. So this is kind of looking like what you expected from them. Nothing about this team seems unsustainable in how they're winning.
Maybe the 3-point percentage.
Yeah, maybe, but it's so far into the season now.
Yeah,
that it's just kind of hard to ignore it. And they made a philosophical change as well. Quinn Snyder has been, he's been a great coach for quite a while now, and he identified his roster. Unlike some coaches in the East, he identified his roster, made adjustments based on that. He saw, we have a lot of great shooters, and although they're shooting very well, a lot of these shooters do normally hover around 40% anyway. And he's just made the change to have their offense revolve around a lot of 3-point shots where they were kind of a bit slower with that in previous years. And that adjustments, made a big difference for them.
I would be really interested to see how many players in the NBA are shooting over 40% from 3 this season, because it feels like almost everyone is like everyone is like so.
Without the fans, it's going crazy. Right?
But also with the Jazz, another testament to them is that they're actually really fun to watch. I mean, that's not something you've really attributed to this Jazz team over the recent years. But I love watching Jordan Clarkson. He's got like the greenest of green lights I've ever seen. It feels like every time the ball touches his hands, it's going up for a shot, and he's making.
It's really just a question of who's second in rookie in
sixth man of the year.
Right now.
I think he's got that wrapped up. I think Rudy Gobert might also.
To be honest, they might have sixth man of the year, coach of the year, and defensive player of the year in their team right now.
I think 2 of those awards are already kind of wrapped up.
Yeah, maybe, coach of the year and
coach of the year. Defensive player of the year is a bit more.
But they've got a defensive player of the year level player at least.
Yeah. And I think the nod with sixth man of the year, they always give the nod to the big man over the guard, where obviously Ben Simmons is the number 2 in that race. So, and he's a guard, so he's maybe at a bit of a disadvantage there. But yeah, the Jazz are really fun, and who knows? Maybe they could set a record with an all-time regular season this year.
It would be hard because of the shortened season, but maybe in
percentage-wise, yeah.
Yeah.
But let's move away from conference talk. We're gonna talk about some notable All-Star snubs. Obviously, the All-Star reserves were announced on Tuesday, and a lot of controversy was created with this, as it always is, to be fair. But this year, I think, especially in the East, there was a lot of people that you can make a very good case for in the reserves. Okay, so I've got the reserves here. I'll pop the graphic up on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. But for those listening on Spotify, you've got in the East, Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Zach Lavine, Julius Randle, Ben Simmons, Jason Tatum, and Nikola Vucevic as your East All-Star reserves. And in the West, you've got Anthony Davis, Paul George, Rudy Gobert, Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, and Zion Williamson, with Devin Booker coming in as the injury replacement for Anthony Davis. What was the biggest shock for you, Josh? One guy that you thought was a deadlock for the team who hasn't made it.
Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah.
So here's my outlook on Snubs. Okay, there's two types of all-stars. There's the perennial all-stars who you can pencil in every year, and then there's the fringe all-stars, or maybe the younger all-stars, and there's a lot of talent in the league right now. If you look, but they're setting career highs they're setting new ground right now for how many 20-point per game scorers there are.
Yeah.
So the league is very, very deep. You have
very talented as well.
Very deep. So you're not gonna have there's a lot more than 25 all-star level players in the league.
Yeah, I saw
it's all subjective.
People were making like third all-star teams, and all the players on it are like really deserving of being all-stars. There's people like Brandon Ingram, who kind of wasn't even getting talked about much. De'Aaron Fox, players like that who are having all-star seasons, and probably in other seasons would have a really good chance of making the team, who kind of didn't get looking because of how high the standard is.
Yeah, so it reminds me of the best example for me is Damian Lillard. There were several years where he was quote unquote being snubbed, but if you look at it, who are you taking out? And it's too subjective for me to be angry about it. You know what I mean? Like the Devin Booker one was the one in the moment that got me, but then I was thinking all-stars are a big deal historically. So a lot of the time they'll just give Anthony Davis that, knowing that he's not going to play, and they'll just so he has it on his record that he was an all-star this year type thing. But the Sabonis one was, it was strange for me. Obviously, I don't agree with all of these, but I'm not angry at them. Obviously, Vucevic had better stats. There's that mix. There's so many awards in the NBA that are subjective and they're not based on particular numbers or things that you have to meet, criteria. So there's not a set criteria. So it's hard to really have a certain people for these all-star games. So it's hard who it gets left down to, and there's a lot of inconsistency that goes on as well.
I think Domantas Sabonis was a really weird one for me. I would have bet a good amount of money that he would have made that team. I think Nikola Vucevic is, of course, he's having an incredible season, but his team is one of the bottom teams in the East. And
there is context with that because, as we said, the records in the East are identical.
Yeah.
And he's pretty much had his whole team out. Markel Fultz has been out. Almost their whole roster has been out around him. So you can't really hold that on him. Also, and he doesn't. And for quite a while in the season, Sabonis had almost an all-star level player next to him in Brogdon. Yeah,
but then on the flip side of that, I know there's been a lot of injuries, but this Magic team isn't even meeting their expectations. Like the past few years, the Magic have been flirting with that 8 seed, and they're not even meeting those expectations this year. And
they technically are flirting with the 8 seed because they're only a couple games out.
Yeah, but I don't see them making it personally. They've got a lot of injuries, as you said. Jonathan Isaac has been out for ages now. It seems like Markel Fultz, Aaron Gordon hasn't been playing, so I don't see them making it. Maybe that's part of the reason his case was stronger, because he hasn't had those his best teammates available. But I do just think
it's just the argument consistencies. That's the thing. That's the only thing that is hard to really be mad about, because there are certain players where you say this forward, then a player will be starting going against the same argument that you have a player not being a reserve, and then it just kind of all mixes and matches. So it's hard with those things. It's kind of like MVP, You'll have years where it's but if you took him off the team, blah blah blah, then the next year, he's the best player on the best team. So it's kind of hard to find that mix.
Another big snub for me, probably my biggest snub, or Domantas Sabonis was my biggest snub, but apart from him, you have to feel sorry for Trae Young. Trae Young, statistically, I know his team has underperformed, but statistically, is putting up all-star starter numbers, and he did start the All-Star game last year, and on a very similar stat line, he's completely out of the game. I think most of it, and probably all of it, is down to his team's record, which I think this is the this is the one year where winning should matter the least, especially in the East, where it's like only 3 teams are above 500.
Yeah, I think it's more about expectation, and then also the fact that he was an exciting player, so a lot of those votes that he got last year were from fans.
Yeah,
and then coaches just value the whole game more, like defense, winning. Those are things that kind of suit the coaches, and then obviously a lot of these coaches are getting a front row view to his antics with foul baiting and things like that. So that's definitely left a sour taste in their mouths.
I was going to say that, but he's not the only superstar that does that. James Harden has done that his whole career. Obviously, James Harden is an undoubtable all-star, but I think Trae Young should also be a perennial undoubtable all-star. That's how talented he is. You're talking about a guy who, coming out of his draft class, he's had to deal with the expectations of Luka Doncic. That's kind of the guy he's always compared to, and he's living up to it. So that just shows you how talented Trae Young is. I think if his team had a better record, he'd definitely be in there. But it begs the question. Like
that's the issue though, that they have. Last year he was given the it's not his fault that they're losing, but then this year, as much as
I don't think it's his fault either.
Yeah, but that's the thing. No one cares at a certain point. Like, if it's not injury, then no one cares, because they look at Trae as to be a player that gets your teammates better. That's why these moves, that's why these acquisitions that they had were so, praised, because they thought, okay, Trae's got actual high quality players next to him, so he can get the most out of them, and then they'll start to win. So it's not really like, they can't really justify that just based on, okay, Gallinari is underperforming, but you hold that on the best player. There's no other all-star, like other top player no one's gonna feel sorry for LeBron about AD underperforming.
Yeah, I do feel bad for Trae Young. I definitely think now, obviously Ben Simmons is an all-star quality player, but I personally would have had Trae Young over Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
I know.
And then the other thing is that, I mean, I didn't even have. So we made ours like a week ago, or
nearly
even
2 weeks
before
ago,
that. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. So
a lot has changed since then.
Timing is important with this as well,
big time.
Especially with the reserves, because by the time they get to reserves, it's just this week. So literally, there's coaches reacting to the game before. You know what I mean? So, and Ben Simmons has been clutch in this February, showing coaches what he can do, because his stats are starting to, get a bit closer to his overall value, and that's helped him out a lot as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great point with timing. You can always almost make an argument that Trae Young shouldn't only get in over Ben Simmons; he should also get in over maybe Jaylen Brown. Because did the Celtics deserve 2 All-Stars? At this point, no. Jaylen Brown is an all-star. He was on both our lists for sure. But Trae Young maybe has leapfrogged him in the race. And timing is so important as well with players who we thought were locks. Someone like
if we made our video on Monday, it would be much
different. So different. Because look, we both had Chris Middleton as a kind of an all-star reserve lock. And ever since we made that video, the way he's fallen out of that conversation has been crazy, because the Bucks had really underperformed, and he wasn't like, people weren't even really calling him a snub. Really, they didn't really see his place in that lineup, and I can't really call him a snub either, because I think all the people who are in that list are more deserving of him right now.
Yeah, and then I had Hayward as a reserve, and he's
fallen off as well,
injuries and things as well. And then even I battled not including Shea. And that was because he was hurt at the time, and I thought he'd be hurt by the time it gets there. But then he's been balling as well. So there's a lot of things. Yeah. And then, Ja Morant complaining. He's the last person that should be complaining. I don't even think...
He's had a very average season, yeah.
I think if like 4 players got injured, he still wouldn't be an all-star.
No, probably not.
What is he arguing about? I'm not sure. He deserved it more last year.
Yeah, I think Ja Morant, he's got a lot of all-star game appearances in his future. He's just got to, take this one on the chin. If he feels hard done by, use it as a chip on your shoulder to play better. But then another controversy in the West, moving away from the East, was that Chris Paul got in over Devin Booker. Obviously, Devin Booker, the reason I didn't react to Devin Booker being a snub is because I knew he was going to be that replacement. Yeah. But at the same time, you can see why it's disrespectful, because both of Devin Booker's All-Star appearances have been injury replacements, when he's probably deserving of 2 or 3 more All-Star berths than that. But it begs the question, why did Chris Paul get in over Devin Booker? And I personally think it's because of the reputation he has with the coaches. Obviously, Chris Paul has been vital to the Suns' success, and it just shows you how he turned the Oklahoma City Thunder into a playoff team last year, and how he's turned the Suns into a top 3 seed this year, of how important Chris Paul still is, even if it's not necessarily showing up in the box score every night.
And the more I've thought about it since that night, the more I've thought about that he almost has the same case this year as he had last year. You know, his stats weren't crazy last year either, taking a young team, you know, to perform ahead of their expectations. So it's almost the same case. So I can't really agree with it last year and not agree with it this year. It's kind of the same thing. And then also an underrated part of it is that his standing in the league. You know, he's the president of the NBA Players Association, and he's a huge part of this All-Star game even happening. You know, he's the one that kind of battled to make it happen. He negotiated with Adam Silver to have, you know, efforts to make the contributions that they get from this to go towards, you know, HBCUs and things, and make it more of like a fundraising type event. So yeah, he's a big part of it. He was also a big part of last year, the format to honor Kobe as well. So that might go into it as well.
I think
how involved he is.
I think it 100% does go into it a lot. Yeah. Like Chris Paul is probably in here mostly on his reputation in the league. But I'm not saying he's not deserving. But
that's not even an issue, I think, because if you look back in a lot of All-Star games, you know, there's always legacy players that are put in into the All-Star game. I mean, Kobe, you know, he wasn't an All-Star that year.
Nowitzki.
Dirk,
Dwayne Wade.
Exactly. So the list goes on. So, you know, a lot of players have just earned that, and that's how it's always been. It's unfortunate to up-and-coming players that, you know, are balling out at the time. But yeah.
For me though, this doesn't feel like it's the same mold as those. I think Chris Paul's still got a few more years in him, and he's still contributing to winning basketball. So it doesn't feel like that to me the same. But it's legacy in the fact that
I don't mean legacy as in like very end of your career. I just mean reputation of being that level of player.
But I feel like I'm not sure if you can really compare those, because it's a different type of legacy.
I don't mean Dirk, and that's different because that was like a special thing. But just looking back, there are certain players that even Melo, who there was a couple of years where he was not All-Star level, but he just got put in. I think he was a reserve one year, even though he wasn't doing much with the Knicks. It's just kind of like those are the names you expect to be All-Stars.
A guy I'm really happy that made the team was Zion Williamson. I think he's really deserving of it. Although his team is not doing as well as maybe we thought, he's having a tremendous season, and I'm happy he got in over Brandon Ingram, because, you know, Brandon Ingram's having a very similar season to what he had last year, and he wasn't an All-Star last year. But I think Zion Williamson, you know, he's showing why people think he's the future of the league. He's not your modern day superstar by any means, the one that can, you know, shoot the three from anywhere, but he's probably the most efficient player in the league, which is kind of a callback to eras of past. He's really flashy. He doesn't have to take many shots to put up the numbers he does. So I'm really happy he's made it.
Adam Silver is definitely not going to let him not make it.
Yeah,
they designed the whole play-in tournament last year. The whole start of the whole bubble was for him.
Well,
at the start anyway.
I'm surprised.
But he's deserving though.
I'm surprised they haven't shoehorned Lamelo Ball in. He'll be in the skills challenge or something. But
they'll put him in a dunk contest to get him there. But I was really happy seeing Zach Lavine, and obviously you were, and Julius Randle. Obviously, they've put up tremendous performances and things, but also just both of them, what they've been through to get to this point.
Yeah.
Zach was doubted coming out of UCLA. Julius Randle, you know, he suffered a season-ending injury on his first game of his career.
Yeah, leg break.
So, and you know they've
and Zach Lavine had an ACL tear as well.
Yeah. And then just seeing when they were presented by their family, like, you know, the stuff that their organization did with their families, it was great to see.
Yeah, and just to talk about Zach Lavine, I'm ecstatic that man is an All-Star, because he's so deserving. He's probably the best player I've seen personally suit up in a Bulls uniform. Obviously, I wasn't around for the Derrick Rose days. Jimmy Butler was a great player, but Zach LaVine, I think he's kind of a different level right now to maybe anybody in the league. He might be the
He
hottest
could be
man
the
in the
best
league right now.
scorer. Yeah, I don't know best player yet. I'm not sure, but he could be the best scorer on a championship team. Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Like
He could be their first option.
if
Definitely.
if you watch Zach LaVine as much as I do, you can see why that is as well. There's no hole in his offensive game. He's a really, really good 3-point shooter, mid-range money. He gets to the rim with ease. His signature move seems to be a little start step, then 2 step through. It doesn't matter who's guarding him. He'll get to the rim. He does it against the best every night. And this scoring run he's on right now is ridiculous. And when that trade happened back in 2017, the one that sent Jimmy Butler to the Timberwolves, I think a lot of people thought the Timberwolves actually won that deal because they got a star in Jimmy Butler and we got some unproven assets. But when you look now, and that was apparent more than ever with the game last night, the Timberwolves versus the Bulls. You saw.
I think we knew they lost that trade about half a season in, though.
Yeah, but when it was made, it looked like a.
Oh yeah. On that draft, I remember that draft night. Everyone was raising their eyebrows.
Yeah. Even I was raising my eyebrows a bit. I wasn't as involved as I am now, but even I was like, a bit skeptical. Probably back then I would have taken Wiggins over Lavine, which now looks like it would have been
MJ.
Yeah. Which now
you probably would have been calling him MJ as well.
Maple Jordan.
If he was a Bull.
Yeah.
If he was a Bull.
But yeah, Zach LaVine, I don't think anyone saw this type of rise really coming, but it just shows you, same as Julius Randle. I mean, these players I think are in, Julius Randle's in year 7, Zach LaVine might be in year 5 or 6, I'm not exactly sure. But it just shows you, players always develop at different rates, different paces. Yeah. And I think a lot of organizations are very quick to throw their toys at the pram, get a bit frustrated and just trade players away if they don't work out very quickly.
These are just 2 examples of players betting on themselves. I love how much Zach made an effort to separate himself from that dunker mode of just being a dunker. He said, no, I'm going to be in a 3-point contest last year. He was like, I'm not going to be in the dunk contest. And
he's saying similar things this year as well.
Yeah. He's made it known that, no, I'm not just that dunker that will show up, for the dunk contest. I am an all-star, I am a player. I've got range to my game. So, and
if you see the way his game has progressed and how much he's added, it just shows you how hard he works. And I've seen this on his social medias and on some YouTube videos. I feel like he's one of those players. His mind is on the game of basketball 24/7, and he's always looking for that next thing to add to his game and that next thing that can take him to the next level.
There's no doubt he's driven. Imagine being dedicated whilst having Jim Boylan as your coach. Like
big time. I was actually watching Zach LaVine's press conference the other night. It was his All-Star press conference, and the reporter asked, no offense to Jim Boylan here, but how much does it help having a coach like Billy Donovan? And then the first words that came out of Zach LaVine's mouth.
He could have left it as how does it feel having a coach? But
but the first words out of Zach LaVine's mouth was, it's a complete 180. That's what he said. So it's clear to see what the Bulls players thought of Jim Boylan. But yeah, I'm so glad he didn't lose faith in this organization with that, because I feel like he is really committed to Chicago. I want to see Zach LaVine in a Bulls uniform for the rest of his career. That's how good he is, and that's how special he is. And I can't wait to see what the future holds, because the Bulls have really taken a step up this year. This is the step we thought they were going to take last year, but obviously we had Jim Boylan as our head coach, so it was kind of hard to do that. But it's a eerily similar roster to last year, and they look a much better team. On current form, they're the best team in the East, 7-3 in their last 10 with the Brooklyn Nets. And
I'm not gonna lie, man. If I was running the Bulls, I would look to go. If things don't change over the next year, I would look to get older. I'm not gonna lie. I think Zach's at that age. I know you love Kobe, but
I kind of agree. I actually do kind of
Because
agree.
look, it's Chicago, it's the Bulls,
Yeah.
MJ's Bulls. Like
Well,
they can
we
attract
haven't
free
had
agents,
we haven't had a big free agent for ages.
but you can put
We
yourself
can,
in
of
that
course, we can.
position
But
if you make the commitment to
well,
it.
that's why I think players like Thaddeus Young have been so vital to the Bulls because
Yeah.
Thaddeus Young, he's so, like, I didn't understand how good Thaddeus Young was at basketball until he got to the Bulls. But he's like Zach Lavine even called him the Chicago Bulls MVP this year. He he makes a regular team so much better with what he does. He always makes the right play, never forces anything. He's a great passer. There's a reason he's called Thajic Johnson.
Yeah. This is what
But
this
we
is
need
what
more
it,
players
this
of
is what
that
it
mold.
means
Is
to
what I'm saying.
pivot towards. This is what it means to pivot towards a winning culture rather than just
Yeah,
wanting talent from the draft.
yeah, and I think a lot of that will come with Billy Donovan as well. He's a very experienced coach in this league. Obviously, took your Oklahoma City Thunder to the playoffs last year, and it looks like he's kind of doing something very similar this year with another young team. But yeah, we definitely do have to find that right mixture of vets and young players. I wouldn't cash in on Kobe White though. I don't know. I see, Josh. I know you might not see it, but I see it, bro. I see it every night. I see a flash where it's like, if he did this consistently, he could be a star in this league. I see it, man. I'm not selling the
Okay,
stocks.
how well does that fit with Zach?
I think it fits well. Because I think Kobe White is taking a kind of a different role this year. I think last year he was really deciding if he was the two guard or the point guard. This year he's really stepped into that point guard role.
I just honestly do think, and I've seen other Bulls fans as well say this, is that Lonzo would be a great fit, man.
Yeah. Damn. He would be.
I know it would kill you to see like Kobe go off for another team, though. I understand that. I do understand that that's there as well.
But this is the thing. I don't think we need to. It's so tough because Kobe White is only 20 years old, and if you look at his numbers, right? I know that's not the only thing you should judge a player by.
Yeah, no, I get.
But he's actually putting up really, really nice numbers this year. And the only problem with me, as I said, is his consistency. He does take a few nights off sometimes, it feels like, and he's not as aggressive as I'd like him to be sometimes. But I don't know. I see the vision, man. I'm not selling the stock.
Where do you stand with marketing?
It's a tough one. I would be so ready to see Markkinen in a Bulls jersey for a long time if he could stay healthy. But unfortunately, for every season of his career, apart from I think his rookie year, he's had kind of a major injury, which is kind of concerning. So I'd be upset if he left, but I would understand if it was to bring in maybe someone like Lonzo or someone that can contribute to winning basketball. Let's end the show. Let's round off the show with a few trade rumors. We haven't seen too many recently, but they're starting to flare back up again. Josh, give us your first trade rumor that's interested you.
Okay, so first one, Tingus Pingus, Kristaps Porzingis himself. The Knicks are looking like they won that trade. They kind of are with the.
I don't know, man.
They got flexibility out of it.
Yeah.
They've got Emmanuel quickly out of it.
Yep. I think it's too early to say that.
Oh, they got Randle and quickly out of it.
Yeah. Ooh, that is a tough one.
And I think they have another pick as well. So Randle quickly.
It was 2 first-round picks.
Yeah. So what did they use the other?
I'm actually not sure.
Or is it a future?
It might be
one?
a future. It might be a future.
Yeah. So 2 picks, including quickly and Julius Randle, who's now an all-star, and Young. And yeah, Porzingis just doesn't look like he can stay on the court. When he is on the court, he has that some small man syndrome or something where he thinks he's 6'2". But anyway, moving on though. So the Mavs are expected to make a significant offer at John Collins in restricted free agency, which kind of puts the status of holding on to Kristaps in jeopardy. And then 2 teams have kind of come out and reached out to the Mavs. Oh no, the Mavs reached out to the Warriors on what Porzingis can get them, and the
Well,
Wizards.
Cuban has shut that down, but that kind of tells you that they probably did actually do that.
Yeah,
directly addressing.
And then also the Wizards have reached out as well, monitoring the situation. So Porzingis could definitely be on the move. It was weird. It's really strange to see because when they first started playing with each other, it didn't look like a great fit. But by the time they'd made it to the playoffs, they seemed
Bubble,
like,
he was on fire.
They seemed like a duo for the future.
Yeah. Well, I think this is where the cloudiness of Porzingis' future is on the defensive end. I think Mark Cuban and the Mavericks kind of had more trust in his defensive capabilities, and right now he looks like a liability. I think they kind of saw him as the anchor on the defense, and he's not that at all right now. Maybe he would be complemented by moving for another big man next to him, but right now that's not his game at all. He on offense. I don't think there's any problem with his offensive game. He's kind of moved into stride right now with his offensive game, but on defense he looks poor. Just to go back to the trade that sent Porzingis to the Mavericks, it was actually a 2023 top 7 protected pick, which was the second pick. I can't say that the Knicks won the trade because
it's just looking murky now.
Because they got
it's not looking as clear.
Yeah, but they got Dennis Smith Jr. out of that trade, who didn't work out. I know they turned that into.
Well, they got Rose now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is murky. It's definitely murky.
Yeah, but at the time, the Knicks looked like a laughing stock. So
yeah, and they.
So there's definitely.
And they look like a playoff team this year. So
yeah.
And another one, Andre Drummond.
Yeah, Drummond. So we'll group because Drummond and Boogie Cousins are kind of in that same mode where Boogie has been bought out now or released, but
well, the Nets released 2 players, didn't they? Or no, sorry, the Lakers have 2 open roster spots after they released Quinn Cook.
But I saw a report that said the Lakers are not likely to pursue him, which is weird.
Okay. And sorry, the Nets did release a few players as well. So
yeah. So that
looks like Boogie might be on his way to Brooklyn.
Possibly. Yeah, it could be. And Kyle Lowry, who that came right before we started recording.
Yeah.
He could be on his way to the 76ers, which would be insane. I saw glimpses of Ben Simmons as a big with Embiid out, and he was thriving.
Yeah.
So that would be definitely be interesting. I think Simmons as like Draymond Green on steroids would be insane.
Yeah. I think this would be a really good move for the Sixers. Kyle Lowry is he knows how to win. He obviously NBA champion 2019. Sorry, and
he does the little things. He's a winning player.
Yeah,
he does the little things.
76ers are a team that have been on the cusp for a few years, and I think this would take them over the hurdle of being a real contender. But it's just
this would be a Jimmy Butler type move, where they're not staying stagnant.
Hopefully, it'd work out a bit better than Jimmy Butler did.
Well, as long as someone doesn't hit a game winner that bounces 4 times.
Yeah.
But
but it would be interesting to see what Kyle Lowry's trade value is actually. What do you think the Sixers would have to give up to acquire him?
I guess it's a matter of what. So what would the Raptors want from the Sixers?
I think they're good at
probably
guard.
They're good at guard, but would they also want those younger players? I'm not sure. How old is Fred VanVleet? Mid-20s?
Yeah, 25, 26. Maybe a Tyrese Maxey? Maybe.
Yeah, because they're good at guard, but I mean, Fred can play both positions.
Yeah.
So, they could, maybe a Tyrese Maxey because Larry has had an injury-riddled season. He is getting older. He is on an expiring deal as well. So I don't think it would take a crazy amount. And it's seeming like Lowry is that type of player where they'll just send him kind of where he wants to go. Yeah, because of what he's done for them.
Yeah, great.
He is the Raptor. He is the Raptor. He is the Raptors organization right now.
Yeah,
all time anyway. So and it's a hometown type thing. He's from Philly.
He's from Philly, yeah.
So yeah, I think they'll make that happen.
Yeah, so a few things to look out for in the trade front as we approach that March 25th trade deadline. Interesting to see what moves will be made and what implications that will have in the league. We'll definitely keep you updated with those. But I think that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for joining us as always. We'll be back. We've got some interesting things lined up next week. We might even have a guest on the show. Stay tuned for that. And we'll be drafting our All-Star teams next week as well. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching. As always, we're out. Peace.